Alone Africa, Season 12, Episode 8. Coming up next. Friends, thank you for tuning in again this week to Tenta Outdoors. My name is Alan from Season 10 of Alone. It's day 21 and this episode starts out with Kelsey. They show her fishing and she's eating some of her remaining warthog jerky, and she tells the camera that she only got about 10 pieces left. She admits she's feeling tired and a bit weaker, and she wants to take a few days off from hunting. She comments on how difficult the hunting is, and she made reference to the camp before drop, where you're all together with the contestants for about a week, learning how to operate camera, some safety protocols. She said quite a few of the other contestants figured the hunting would be great. The hunting would be easy, and there was going to be a lot of big game harvest this season, but that didn't turn out to be the case. Other contestants have talked about this, just how you're kind of in the center and all the game are on the hills around you, and it's really easy for them to spot you, and there's not a lot of cover, and it's just, the hunting's tough. Kelsey explains to the audience how she is a very good hunting guide, and she always tags out her clients. Kelsey's next few scenes, she's making dream catchers for her godchild as a gift. She notices there's something going on with the baboons. There's lots of hollering and carrying on. And she goes to observe them, and she notices there's like a group of about 35 or 40 of them, and they're definitely active, they're moving around, and they seem to be moving her way. She has bear spray, but she didn't bring her bow. And the next scene, she's hollering at them and yelling, and they appear to kind of move off. Kelsey goes for a walk to clear her mind, and she's got this beautiful big rock. She sits down in the open, and she really feels that it helps her clear her mind and turn her mind to a positive place. And as she's sitting on this rock, she notices 3 rhinos. That's incredible. When she heads back to camp, Kelsey is relieved that the baboons have not raided her camp. Kelsey's next scene, she's trying her luck at fishing. She catches a fairly large beetle to use as bait, and she's fishing with a pole with a fairly short length of line, and she's just fishing kind of in the small area in front of her. And as she's doing this, she notices some fish swirling in other areas of the pond. I would have liked to see Kelsey move around to other areas of the pond and fish where she knows the fish are hanging out. And when she leaves, she takes the bait with her. I was wondering why she didn't just put a set line out, maybe tie a little weight on that fishing line, throw it out there and do some passive fishing with that beetle that she already had on her hook. But again, I can only go by what I see on the edit. Kelsey very well may have done that, and she may have fished all sorts of areas on the pond, but that's the only part that the editors may have shown. So we just don't know what she actually did compared to what makes it on the edit. Kelsey shows off her bad hair day. Her hair did look pretty wild, I have to admit. She throws it in a ponytail and gets back to work. So Kelsey wants to hunt as much as possible before she becomes too weak to draw her bow back all the way. So she heads out hunting, and she heads to an area where she thinks there's some warthogs. Kelsey spots some warthogs from a distance and puts on a stalk. She kind of waited in ambush behind a bush, and one of the warthogs was moving towards her. Her next scene is kind of moving her camera and repositioning for a shot at the warthog. She draws her bow back, takes a shot, but unfortunately she missed a little bit low. She explains to the camera that she feels that she missed low because she is now unable to draw her bow back all the way to her normal anchor point. So she said she's about an inch or two short. So even those 2 inches that she isn't pulling back would affect the trajectory of the arrow, and that's why she feels she's missing low. So after that miss, Kelsey is feeling a little down, but she's really good at self-talk. She can, whenever she's feeling low, she can talk herself out of it, which is a really good strategy and a skill that she has when she's out there. It kind of reminds me of times when I was feeling down out there, and I was expecting it though, and when you're feeling down, it doesn't last for long. Like if you can just battle through the 10 minutes or half an hour of feeling kind of miserable and kind of occupy yourself with something else, those negative feelings do eventually pass, and Kelsey's really good at doing that. It's day 22. Up next on the episode was Katie, and like you, I was happy to see Katie being featured more on this episode. So she wants to go hunting, but she needs to eat first. And I think we're being fooled to think that Katie isn't eating a lot. She is so good at foraging. This episode really highlighted that feature in Katie's skill set. So they picture her, she's eating buffalo thorn leaves and acacia seeds. Katie heads out for a hunt, and like many of the other contestants have said on this show, the game always seemed to have the upper hand in this location because you're kind of down low and all the game are on the hillsides around you. And they're always very aware of your presence. So I like what she did here. She heads to the trail that the water bucks are using to get to the water hole, and she sets up a little blind. Either she made it or it was just a natural occurring blind. Now this is very important. Now she made reference to playing the wind. She made sure the wind was in her favor, which is a really good move on Katie's part. Now we have no idea how long she waited there. She could have been there for 10 minutes, half an hour, hours. But however long she waited there, no game passed by and she headed back to camp. While she was gone, it was either she left the camera running at camp or it was one of her motion activated game cameras that we have set up around our camp. But she had some visitors. A bunch of baboons investigated her camp and one of them ended up stealing her fur hat. Now I asked myself, why would a baboon steal a fur hat? And it's got to be because of the smell. There must have been some animal smell in that hat that attracted the baboon to it. I know that the rabbit fur hat that I had out there on my season, the mice loved it. The mice went for it. I don't know if they were chewing off the fur to make their nests, but they chewed off big patches of the fur on my rabbit hat, or there was some sort of nutrient in the actual hide that they were chewing on that they needed for the winter. I don't know, but something about fur, even if it's been tanned and treated, animals are still attracted to it at times. After the baboon incident, Katie decides to go out foraging. Now, she says she wants to secure her camp so the baboons can't go in there again. Now, you're probably thinking the same thing. She kind of just pulled the flaps down on her shelter and put a couple of rocks on them. And I did think that the baboons could easily get in there if they wanted to. But I guess it is better than nothing, and it made her feel a little bit better about leaving camp. She heads out and finds a variety of wild plants to eat. Her knowledge of foraging and her ability to collect the food is impressive. I mean, we have the wild garlic she found, the roasted grass seeds, very nice. She finishes off her shelter and heads out hunting, and she makes reference to feeling better today, having a little more energy as a result of those roasted grass seeds she'd eaten the night before. During her hunt, she notices some warthogs and goes on a stalk. She gets close, but they move into some heavy cover. She had a moment where she did have a shot, but it was 50 yards, which is much too far for 99% of traditional bow hunters. And she doesn't end up getting a shot at these warthogs. But even though she didn't get a shot, she felt like it could happen. She felt like it wasn't an impossibility that she could eventually get one of these warthogs. So there was a scene before we went to the next contestant where they showed her shelter at night. And I don't know about you, but it looked like a honey badger walked by her shelter. Up next on the episode is Nathan. Nathan's first scene is pulling in a massive catfish. The caption on the screen said it was almost 4 feet. I think it was 3 feet and 9 inches. Now the interesting thing about this catch is that he caught this massive catfish on a smaller catfish that was already on the hook. Now I think he got a little bit lucky that that large catfish who ate the smaller catfish actually still got hooked on the hook that was sticking out of the smaller catfish's mouth. This catfish will bring Nathan 10,000 calories. As Nathan is eating his catfish, and he describes to the audience how absolutely delicious it is, he shares some interesting thoughts on stoicism. Now this kind of caught me off guard because I was just visiting my family in Vancouver, and my little brother, Jonathan, is really into stoicism right now, and he's trying to kind of live his life with some of the philosophies from the Stoics of long ago. So I just kind of thought that was cool. Part of this stoicism philosophy is that when you're faced with an obstacle, that obstacle can often be the way. And he talked about specifically that catfish, how he was losing all his catfish at first, how they were breaking his line, but he solved that obstacle by weaving his line together to make it a lot stronger. And now that obstacle, the catfish, have now become his main source of food. Nathan's next scene is having breakfast, and he tells the audience how he only has one fish meal left. And So instead of focusing on hunting and the energy expenditure of that, he's going to simply focus on fishing. Next, he works on a shelter, but before he does that, he puts out 2 set lines that he can see while he's working on a shelter. The next scene with Nathan, we all knew it was going to happen. Now, for some reason, production put the scene of his shelter collapsing, and I think it was the intro of each episode. So we knew it was going to happen, and it happened on this episode. I think the front right corner of his shelter completely collapsed. It was kind of like a chain reaction. It kind of kept collapsing towards the back. Nathan backed off, and the look on his face, and when he turned around to the camera, it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. And he talks about how he knew about that weak spot, but he didn't take the time to kind of reinforce it and fix it. But yeah, it was a pretty powerful scene, and just you could really feel that the emotion, the disappointment in Nathan. And it was kind of unclear whether he's going to go back and try to fix it, but I think he's kind of giving up on it currently because he doesn't want to put any more energy into that. And I mean, it was quite the amount of damage was quite devastating, and the time and effort and expenditure calorie wise would be massive. So we're not sure what he's going to do about that shelter, if he's going to just kind of forget about it and move on to another form of shelter, or maybe next episode he is going to try to repair it. We don't know. Nathan's next scene is checking his fishing line, and unfortunately each line that he has set was snagged in the rocks. So he heads out in the water, dives down, and he's able to release one of the snags, but the line breaks on the other one. Now, I was worried. He was in the water, having all that water in your eyes, nose, and mouth as he's down there. Like, I was worried about him introducing some sort of bacteria or something nasty that's going to give you a stomach bug. Because I remember I think it was Jit that went swimming, and then he got sick afterwards, but it could have been from the cactus that he ate. I don't know, but I was nervous him going in the water and exposing himself to all the nasty things that live in that water. Nathan's final scene this episode is speaking about how he admires all the people that are willing to go on the show. He thinks they are very courageous to put all their successes and their failures on display in front of the world. Back in season 10, knowing that everything I did could be shown to the world in multiple different countries, it was a little bit stressful. That kind of drove me to push through those tough times was that my students were watching me. All my outdoor ed students from all the years I taught will be watching this, and they actually gave me a lot of strength and encouraged me to push further because, man, I had to go back to work. I had to teach these guys. Now, the episode just kind of ended. I was expecting to see some previews for next week, but unless I missed them, there were no previews for next week's episode. And to be honest, I kind of like that because I find that sometimes there's spoilers or we're deceived somehow by the scenes that they show us is going to happen on the next episode. So I was okay with no preview for next week. Next week, I'm on the road on a motorcycle trip with a bunch of friends, and I'll be staying in hotels, so I'm not sure how much time I'll have to film the recap, but I will try to get it out within a day or two after the episode. I will do my best, I promise. Folks, we will see you next week. Take care.